Everything seemed to be going smoothly, until I heard my husband's voice coming from the living room as I stepped inside to grab something I'd forgotten. "She should be out of the way soon," my mother-in-law's voice followed. I froze. Were they really plotting to get rid of me? After all these years of living together, did they truly despise me that much? Ordinarily, I would have confronted them on the spot, but fear held me back. Instead, I decided to uncover the truth and expose them for what they really were. My name is Elise Harris. My husband Charles is 3 years older than me, and we've been married for 3 years. We first met at his workplace when I was giving a traffic safety seminar. Back then, I was a police officer in the traffic division. It was my first time speaking to a large group, and I was nervous. Charles noticed and tried to put me at ease. That small gesture led to a friendship, which eventually turned into marriage. Despite being married for years, we still didn't have children. I had wanted to start a family right away, but Charles hesitated. "Raising kids is expensive," he would say. "Let's wait until we've saved up more." It didn't make sense. We both had stable jobs, and money wasn't an issue. Yet, whenever I brought up the topic, he would brush it aside. My mother-in-law, Nova, wasn't any less concerned about it than I was. At first, she had eagerly anticipated grandchildren, but as the years passed, her patience wore thin. "You're not getting any younger," she reminded me. "If a wife doesn't give her husband children, she's nothing more than a housemaid." It wasn't like I didn't want kids. When I told Charles what his mother had said, he grew irritated. "What are you trying to say? That it's my fault?" he snapped. "I'm exhausted all the time. If you really want a child, maybe try making me feel like it." He was obsessed with appearances. He liked women who dressed young and trendy, something that didn't suit my profession. No matter how many times I explained that my job required a more practical style, he wouldn't listen. "A wife who doesn't take care of her looks is a failure," he once told me. I couldn't believe how much he had changed from the kind, caring man I had married. I started regretting ever saying yes to him. 2 years into our marriage, my job responsibilities shifted, and my work schedule became unpredictable. It became harder for us to coordinate days off, and the time we spent together dwindled. I knew it wasn't good for our relationship, but even when we did manage to have a day off together, Charles would make plans with other people instead. "Are you canceling again?" I asked one evening, frustrated. "You promised we'd go to the movies today." "Some girls from work asked me to go fishing with them yesterday," he replied casually. "They don't know how to put bait on the hooks." I had to help. Despite the apology in his words, he was smirking. My disappointment was brushed off like it didn't matter. On days when I was home alone, my mother-in-law took it upon herself to visit, often without warning. "Oh, Charles isn't here?" she asked one afternoon. "He went fishing. Some girls from work invited him." She scoffed. "Guess he'd rather spend time with them than you." I had no patience for her barbed comments, but I couldn't just walk away. Each visit ended the same way, her sharp tongue cutting into me. "You still don't have children. You need to be more proactive. That's your duty as a wife." "I'm trying," I defended myself. "But Charles says we should wait because of money." Her eyes narrowed. "How much do you even make?" I hesitated before giving a number lower than my actual salary. She scoffed in disappointment. "That's all. No wonder you can't afford a child." I gritted my teeth. She spoke as if my salary determined my worth, but something about her demeanor that day made me uneasy, and I would soon find out why. Not long after, my mother-in-law's attitude toward me worsened. Her visits became more frequent, almost every other day. One evening, I came home from work to find her inside, using a spare key, already cooking dinner. "Must be nice to prioritize work over family," she sneered. "You have all this free time since you don't have children." Strangely, I often felt unwell after eating the meals she prepared. I brushed it off as stress or fatigue, but then other things started happening. She would wake me up after my night shifts, scolding me for sleeping in. "A good wife doesn't laze around all day," she said coldly. "No wonder Charles prefers being elsewhere." She forced me to eat breakfast, and soon, I started noticing a bitter taste in my food. Over time, my body weakened. I was constantly nauseous, rushing to the bathroom after eating. The exhaustion, the sleepless nights, the stress, it was wearing me down. But instead of concern, Charles was irritated by my condition. "You always look miserable," he complained. It ruins the atmosphere in the house. You're not even handling the chores anymore. Mom does everything. At least try to be pleasant. She only helps when I'm too busy, I argued. You know how she treats me. He barely looked at me. Instead, he focused on the TV, laughing at something on the screen. I snapped. Charles, you don't even look at me when I talk. You cancel plans all the time. Are you having an affair? His head whipped toward me. That's a disgusting accusation, he yelled. You think you're the victim? You're the one sneaking around, aren't you? I was too shocked to respond. He grabbed a vase off the table and smashed it against the floor. Shards scattered at my feet. You didn't have to do that, I said quietly, my heart pounding. For the first time, I felt afraid of my own husband. After that, the tension in our home only worsened. The fights, the insults, the unease. I could barely breathe in that house. Then one day, I had to leave for a work trip. It was meant to be a few days away. But as I stepped out the door, I realized I had forgotten something important at home. And when I went back to retrieve it, I overheard something that made my blood run cold. I rushed back home. The day before, my mother-in-law had taunted me, saying, "Off on a business trip without doing any housework first. Must be nice." I wasn't eager to see my husband after our argument, so I quietly opened the front door, trying not to make a sound. That's when I noticed my mother-in-law's shoes by the entrance. I hesitated, considering leaving, but then I heard voices from inside. I got the stuff, and so far, everything's going as planned, Charles said, his tone smug. She won't last much longer, Nova replied, her voice chillingly cold. Yeah, but it's working slower than I expected, my husband muttered. She's been running to the bathroom after every meal. I think it's almost time, Nova added. My breath caught in my throat. What were they talking about? Heart pounding, I quickly pulled out my voice recorder, a habit from work, and started recording. They had no idea I was listening as they casually discussed their horrifying scheme. Should we increase her life insurance payout? That way we can pay off your debts, right? Charles suggested eagerly. I'd be forever grateful, his mother chuckled before adding, plus, he won't have to see that ugly woman every day anymore. I clenched my fists. Even if they disliked me, I never imagined they could stoop this low. Then I heard my husband laugh. She's a cop, but just traffic division. She'll never figure it out. At that moment, my fear turned to fury. On my way to my business trip, I couldn't stop thinking about how to get back at them. My coworker, noticing my tense expression, asked if I was okay. When I confided in him, he shared something that only fueled my rage. Funny you mentioned Charles, he said. A while back, I responded to a call about a drunk guy causing a scene at a club. Turns out it was your husband. I froze. He was completely wasted, hanging all over the female staff, kicking tables. He was with some girl, shouting that he'd beat anyone who touched her. And honestly, it didn't seem like just drunken talk. He was definitely involved with her. I had my suspicions, but now I had proof. Suddenly, everything made sense. His constant excuses, the late nights, the way he avoided me. I wasn't just going to sit back and take it. I was going to bring them both down. A week later, Charles suddenly started acting affectionate again, speaking to me in the same sweet voice he used when we first dated. I knew he had an agenda, and soon he handed me a document. Elise, your job is so dangerous. I worry about you all the time, he said, feigning concern. I glanced down. It was a life insurance application. I clenched my jaw. He was really going through with it. Even so, I wanted to give him one last chance. Do you truly think someone might try to kill me? I asked, staring directly into his eyes. Would that worry you? Of course, he said with a broad smile. That's why you should sign this quickly. I nearly laughed at the desperation in his voice. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. You're right, I mused. You never know who might be plotting against you. Exactly, he nodded eagerly. These are dangerous times. Like when someone in your own family hatches a stupid scheme, I added casually. His smile faltered. Yeah. Like when a man wants to get rid of his wife to be with a younger woman, I continued, watching his face turn pale. His eyes widened in panic. Before he could deny it, I pulled out my voice recorder and pressed play. The room filled with the sound of his own voice. His plan, his mother's laughter, their cold, calculated words. His expression twisted in horror. What the hell is this? Just something I happened to overhear. I replied calmly. Good thing I don't just deal with traffic, huh? What, you work in the traffic division? He blurted out. Not anymore. I transferred to criminal investigation a while back. Guess you were too busy with your girlfriend to notice. I placed a stack of photos on the table, evidence of his affair. I don't even know this woman, he stammered. Really? Because you were quite the gentleman protecting her at the club. You even shouted, "She's my girl." I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. He gulped. How much do you know? Enough, I cut him off. Panic-stricken, he tried to shift the blame. It's my mother. She forced me into this. When she found out I was seeing someone else, she said I should marry her instead of you because of your low salary. His words clicked into place. That explained why his mother had pried about my income and scoffed at it. She was comparing me to his mistress. And according to the recording, she owed a lot of money. My life insurance payout would have solved her problems while setting her son up with his new lover. So, you're saying your mother came up with everything? I asked. Yes. I had nothing to do with it, he insisted. I scoffed. You're pathetic. It all started with you cheating. You don't get to pass the blame. You disgust me. Charles lunged at me in desperation, grabbing at my chest. I intercepted his arm and threw him to the ground with all my strength. I'm a cop. Dealing with violent idiots like you is my job, I said coldly, pulling out my handcuffs, and I don't need life insurance to protect myself. He went pale at the sight of them. You're under arrest. His voice trembled. Please, Elise, I didn't know what I was doing. Forgive me. You'll have plenty of time to explain at the station, I said, snapping the cuffs around his wrists. Not long after, both Charles and his mother were charged with conspiracy to commit murder. I filed for divorce and sued for $20,000 in alimony from him and his girlfriend. Since it was only an attempted crime, it won't be locked away forever, but once they're released, they'll struggle, jobless, drowning in debt, and paying me what they owe. As for me, for the first time in years, I'm enjoying my freedom. After being trapped in that toxic marriage, I'm finally stretching my wings. And I intend to fly. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.